Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So you've sent over this list, and it's fascinating. 100 masculine baby names, all starting with B.
That's right.
And our mission is to really dig into them, look at the origins, the meanings, pull out some of the stories hiding there.
Exactly. Because this isn't just, a list of names. It's more like a journey through language, through culture. We'll see how these names are like little time capsules, really. They connect us back to ancient beliefs, sometimes historical events, even just the landscapes people lived in.
And the range of origins here is just incredible. I mean, just glancing down the list, You've got Semitic roots, Old English, Norse myths, Babylonian history, Hebrew scripture, Scottish clans, Germanic tribes.
Keeps going.
Greek, Latin, French, Irish, Slavic, Sanskrit, Welsh, Dutch, Scandinavian, Italian, Spanish, even modern American ones thrown in.
It really is a global tapestry, all under one letter.
So where do we even start unpacking all of this?
Well, I think a good place to begin is with some of the names that have those really old echoes, ancient times, mythology.
Okay.
These names often give us a kind of direct line to how people way back then saw the world.
Sounds good. So first up is Baal. That sounds familiar from historical texts.
It's Semitic, meaning lord or master.
Right. That carries a definite sense of authority, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's interesting is how significant Baal was across different ancient Middle Eastern cultures, often a major deity.
Okay.
So the name carries that historical weight, that power, maybe reverence. Makes you wonder about the people given the name. Was it about devotion or maybe aspirations for leadership?
Interesting. Okay, next is Balder. That one just screams Norse mythology to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It means prince or brave.
You can almost picture the saga.
Totally. In the myths, Balder is this really beloved god, radiant, beautiful, invincible. Well, almost invincible.
Ah, yes, the mistletoe incident.
Exactly. Bit unfortunate. But the core meaning, prince, brave, it definitely points to those noble qualities, the courage that was so prized in that culture.
Makes sense. And the last one in this sort of ancient group is Balthazar, Babylonian roots, you've noted.
Yes. And the meaning is, whale protects the king.
Wow, that's incredibly specific.
It is, isn't it? It really pulls you back to a time where names often had this direct, powerful link to religion and rulers. And seeing Baal pop up again just shows how prominent that figure was in naming back then. Suggests a society really focused on divine protection for its leaders.
It's amazing how these names are like little windows into the past. Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Sure.
What about names rooted in more everyday things, like jobs or places people lived? Seems a bit more grounded.
Right, and these often tell a very direct story about what someone's ancestors did, or maybe the kind of place they lived. It's a nice way to connect to the past, maybe more personally.
Okay, first one, Baker, English. Can't get much more straightforward than that.
No, you really can't. It's a classic occupational surname that just became a first name over time.
Right.
It simply meant someone who baked bread. Speaks to how vital that craft was, obviously.
Then there's Banks, also English, meaning lives on the hillside or riverbank.
Yeah, that paints a nice picture, doesn't it? Someone connected to the landscape.
Very much so.
That connection to the land was so common in how surnames developed. Banks gives you that sense of place, maybe a rural life. You can imagine early villages where descriptive names like that help tell people apart.
Next, Barclay, Scottish this time, birch tree meadow. Again, nature, but very specific.
The Scottish landscape is full of birch trees, so this probably came from someone living near a meadow like that. It has a very pastoral feel.
Yeah, it does. Quiet, natural. Then Beck, English again, just brook. Short, sweet, nature-based.
Its simplicity is part of its appeal, I think. Beck is just a clear reference to a stream. Suggests living near water, which was obviously crucial.
We've also got Berlin, German, meaning from the city of Berlin. Simple enough.
Yeah, it's interesting how major city names sometimes become personal names.
Right.
It points to maybe a sense of origin, wanting to keep that connection. Even if you moved away, we see that pattern in lots of cultures.
And similarly, Boston, English origin. From the town of Botolph's Stone, that's more specific, referencing someone named Botolph.
Yes, exactly. It points to a particular place, probably marked by a stone linked to this person, Botolph. Shows how even commonplace names can have these really specific individual roots way back when.
We've got a whole cluster here of English place names, actually. Let's see. Bexley, clearing by the box trees. Blackston, from the Black Town. Bentley, meadow with coarse grass. Brighton, bright town.
Right.
Bristol, which is just noted as a place name. Bixby, village near the box trees. Briggs, bridge dweller. And Barrington, town of barley.
Wow, yeah, that's quite a geographical tour of Old England.
It really is. It makes you think about the landscapes, the settlements back then.
Absolutely. The fact that there are so many English place-based names gives us this great insight into how people identify themselves and others, often just by where they lived in their community. Paints a picture of a maybe more localized agrarian world.
It really does. Makes you wonder about those specific spots. Okay, changing tack again. Let's look at names that suggest strength, nobility. Those always seem popular.
They do. These are names that often reflect qualities society valued highly, or maybe hopes parents had for their kids.
So Barrett, Germanic roots, bear strength. That's a powerful image, and we're seeing the bear again.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? The bear as this symbol of strength, bravery, it just keeps showing up across Germanic languages.
Yeah.
Suggests a really deep-seated admiration for those traits in those cultures.
Then Basil, Greek origin, royal kingly. Doesn't get much more direct than that for nobility.
No, it really doesn't. It inherently carries that feeling of leadership, high status. It was even used as a title sometimes in Byzantine context. Imagine carrying that name.
Bernard, another Germanic one. Brave as a bear, there's the bear again, emphasizing courage.
It just reinforces that link, doesn't it? Bears, bravery, strength. It's a solid, enduring name. suggests resilience, fearlessness.
And Brian, Irish origin, simply noble, quite elegant.
It is. It's a classic Irish name, long history, always associated with high-standing, respected families.
Beau, French, means handsome. Speaks to appearance, but in a very classic kind of way.
Yeah, it's a charming name.
Yeah.
Suggests attractiveness, sure, but maybe also a certain debonair quality, a refined nature, perhaps.
And then there's just bear, English,
right.
Meaning, well, bear, strong and brave.
Huh, no ambiguity there.
Nope. Very direct, almost primal.
It is. Just emphasizes those core animal characteristics. No doubt about the meaning.
Baldwin, Germanic origin, bold friend. I like that combination. Not just brave, but loyal, too.
That's a really nice mix, isn't it? So just someone courageous, yes, but also supportive. A valuable combination.
Then Baron or Baron, English, nobleman and warrior nobleman. Clearly points to social rank in history.
Definitely reflects that hierarchical society, where titles and status mattered a lot. Gives you a glimpse into a world where social standing was often tied to land, maybe military skill.
And finally, Braven. Listed as modern, meaning just brave.
Right, straight to the point.
Reflects that modern trend, maybe, of wanting the name to directly state the admired quality.
It really does seem to fit that pattern, creating names that clearly communicate what you hope for, cutting right to the meaning.
It's interesting how different times and places signal strength and nobility differently through names. Okay, let's move to names with biblical or blessed connections. These often feel very deep-rooted.
Indeed. They frequently carry that sense of tradition, spiritual meaning, often reflecting core beliefs and stories.
First is Barak, Hebrew, meaning lightning. Yeah. That's powerful, dynamic.
Yes, and in the Old Testament, Barak is a military leader. So the name has connotations of strength, sudden action like lightning, real impact.
Then Barnaby, English, son of consolation. That feels quite gentle, doesn't it? A contrast to Barak.
It does. Suggests someone who brings comfort, solace, a very positive, nurturing feel.
And Ben, Hebrew, simply son. Sure, but feels foundational, part of so many other names.
Absolutely. It's a key piece in Hebrew naming, often used as a prefix or part of compound names showing lineage, like Benjamin or Benson, which we'll get to.
Ah, yes. And here's a trio of blessed names. Benedict from Latin, Benedetto from Italian, Benicio from Spanish, all meaning blessed.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How that core meaning crosses language boundaries in these Romance languages.
It really is.
Highlights that universal desire, maybe for divine favor, good fortune, stressed in slightly different ways, speaks to a shared human hope.
Benjamin, Hebrew again. Son of the right hand. What's the significance there? Favor. Skill.
Yeah, in biblical tradition, the right hand often symbolizes strength, skill, being favored. So it's a name with positive symbolic weight, lots of history.
Then Benson, English, son of Ben. Straightforward connection there.
Exactly, a classic patronymic name. Directly means son of Ben. That's a common way surnames. And then later first names developed.
Boaz, Hebrew, meaning swiftness, another energetic one.
And in the Bible, Boaz is shown as strong, but also kind. So the name carries those associations too, along with the idea of quickness or agility.
Bogdan, Slavic, gift from God. That's beautiful, very meaningful.
It really is. Expresses that profound sense of gratitude, divine blessing, a sentiment you see in many religious naming traditions.
Unea, Hebrew, built by God, also that theme of divine creation.
Yeah, it suggests a life that's divinely supported, maybe ordained, a sense of being established by a higher power.
And Boazia, another Hebrew one, strong is Yahweh, very direct statement of faith.
Yes, that's a theophoric name.
Meaning
it incorporates the name of a god, Yahweh in this case, directly emphasizes divine strength, sovereignty.
Okay, and last in this section, Bonaventure, Latin, good fortune, another aspirational name.
Right, expresses that hope for a life filled with positive things, blessings, a wish parents often have.
It's really striking how many names connect so strongly to faith. Okay, now let's turn to names inspired by nature. These often evoke beauty, calm, maybe raw power.
Absolutely. Nature's always been this huge source of inspiration for names everywhere. Shows our deep connection to the environment.
Bay, Latin, means berry or sea inlet. Two quite different natural things.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting ones where the meaning might depend on context or what was intended, fruit of the land or sheltered bit of sea, a dual connection.
Blaine, Irish, thin, lean, not quite the grand landscape image.
No, it's more descriptive, perhaps referring to a physical trait, maybe like a slender tree or a lean feature in the landscape.
Lair, Scottish, field or plain. Back to those broader landscapes.
Yeah, evokes open spaces, connection to the land, similar to Banks or Bradley. Suggests an environment important to early communities.
Blake is interesting. English, but with conflicting meanings. Fair-haired or dark, how does that happen?
It just highlights how the same name can sometimes have different roots, different etymologies leading to these contradictions. It's almost like naming your kid based on a coin toss for hair color.
Huh. Right. Blaze. Latin, fire, flame. Very vivid, energetic.
Yeah, just passion, energy, a fiery spirit, real dynamism in that name.
Bodhi, Sanskrit. Awakening enlightenment. That's got deep spiritual links tied to nature through the Bodhi tree, right?
Exactly. Deeply tied to enlightenment in Buddhism, specifically the tree where the Buddha supposedly achieved it.
Boon, French. Good, blessing. Connects to nature's bounty, maybe.
Yeah, it suggests that natural goodness, being fortunate, perhaps related to the land and what it provides.
Yeah.
A feeling of abundance.
Boyd, Scottish. Yellow or blonde. Likely hair color again.
Like Blake, probably started as a descriptive nickname based on appearance.
Braddock, English. Broad oak. Instantly think of strong, sturdy trees.
For sure. The oak's been a symbol of strength, longevity for ages in many cultures. Braddock taps right into that.
Bradley, English. Broad meadow. Echoes Blair, that feeling of open space.
Similar idea. Wide, grassy areas, connection to pastoral environments.
Brent, English. Hill. Simple, evocative landform.
Suggests someone living near or on a hill. A common identifier back then.
Briar or Briar, English. Thorny plant?
Yeah.
Maybe less conventionally pretty. Still nature, though?
True, not as traditionally beautiful, maybe, but evokes resilience. Perhaps a wilder, untamed side of nature.
Brook or brooks. English. Small stream and of the brook. Like Beck, that gentle, flowing feel.
They all share that peaceful image, don't they? Flowing water, suggesting life, movement, maybe tranquility.
Bruce, Scottish. From the brushwood thicket, paints a picture of dense, specific terrain.
Directly links the name to a type of landscape, likely indicating where someone or their family lived.
Birk, Scandinavian. Birch tree, like Barkley, but different roots. Shows how certain trees were significant regionally.
It really does. Highlights the importance of the birch in Scandinavia, just like in Scotland.
And finally, Bodin, also Scandinavian, meaning shelter. A practical connection to nature, suggesting refuge.
Yeah, suggests someone who provided shelter or lived in a sheltered place, maybe related to the land itself, protection from the elements.
It's amazing how many different parts of nature inspired these names. Landscapes, plants, colors. Okay, let's specifically group together some names with Celtic connections. Irish, Scottish, Welsh. We've hit a few already.
Yes, like the Celtic languages and cultures gave us this really rich, diverse set of names, each with its own history and flavor.
So in this group, we've got Barclay, Blair, Boyd, then Brady, meaning spirited, Braden, descendant of Bredon, Braden, salmon, Brecken, freckled, Brendan, prince, Bryce, speckled, Brody, ditch or muddy place,
Right.
Brian, noble, Bryce, alert, ambitious, Blaine, thin, lean, Bowen, son of Owen, Broderick, son of Ryderk, and Braith, freckled again.
Wow, that's quite a list just from Celtic roots.
It really is.
And it showcases that distinct linguistic heritage. You can see recurring themes, nature, nobility, descriptions reflecting Celtic values and environments.
Like a mini tour of the Celtic world through names. Okay, let's talk nicknames and modern variations. This is where we see names evolve, adapt.
Exactly. Names aren't static. They change, they morph. Informal versions sometimes become standard names, or totally new ones get created, inspired by older forms.
Like Bubba, American, brother, affectionate nickname. It's a term of endearment that kind of stuck as a name.
Right. Highlights how powerful family ties and informal language are in how names develop.
And buddy, English, friend, another term of affection that made the leap.
Suggests warmth, approachability, qualities people like in a name.
Buster, also American, tough guy. A nickname implying a personality, often given playfully, right?
Often playfully, yeah. Maybe in childhood, and it's just 6. Suggests resilience, maybe a bit of mischief.
Bram, Dutch short form of Abraham, father of many, shows how longer names get shortened but keep their weight.
Short forms often become so common they become established names themselves, sometimes even more popular than the original.
Bryson, English. Son of Bryce, a patronymic derived from the father's name that's now popular as a first name.
Follows that common pattern, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Surnames from first names circling back to become first names again for new generations.
Balin, French. Auburn-haired. Back to those descriptive names based on appearance.
Suggests a specific physical trait that became linked with the name.
Brett, English. From Brittany, another place name turned common first name.
Yeah, like Berlin or Boston. Carries that sense of origin connection to a place.
Brinley, English. Burnt meadow. That's a slightly more unusual evocative meaning. Paints quite a picture.
It does. Evokes a specific landscape changed by fire, maybe for farming, maybe naturally.
Burke, French. From the fortress. Strong sense of place, historical connection.
Suggests an ancestral link to someone near a fortress. Implies history, maybe protection.
Burl, English. Butler. Another occupational name, like baker.
Points to that historical role in a household, managing things, serving.
Burnett, French. Brown-haired. Another descriptive one based on appearance.
Like Balin, probably started as a nickname for a noticeable trait.
Byron, English. Barn for cows. Surprisingly pastoral origin.
Suggests a connection to farming, rural life. Highlights how important livestock were when the name originated.
Bailey, English. Bailiff. Another job title turned first name.
Refers to that historical administrative role overseeing an estate.
Bane, French or Gaelic roots, meaning bath or white. Shows how one name can have multiple possible origins.
It really does highlight that. Different linguistic paths converging on one name sometimes.
Baylor, English. Horse trainer. Yet another occupation specifically with animals.
He evokes a specific skill, a profession highly valued when horses were vital.
Behringer, Germanic. Bear spear. That combines the strength and weaponry themes we saw earlier.
Clever combination, isn't it? Suggests a warrior or hunter known for spear skill and bear-like qualities. Formidable.
Braxton, English. Brockstown. Place name again, but linked to someone named Brock, possibly meaning badger.
Yeah, indicates a settlement associated with someone named Brock. Maybe a prominent person or someone in an area known for badgers.
Bladen is noted as a modern variant of Braden. Shows how spelling and sound evolve.
It's a common thing, seeing variations pop up as names get passed down and adapted.
And Bravian. Modern, possibly inspired by brave, shows new names are still being made based on admired traits.
Reflects that ongoing desire to create names embodying positive things, aspirations.
And finally, Balthier. Listed as fictional from video games, shows how even invented names can enter pop culture.
It really highlights how much influence media, stories have on naming trends today.
So interesting seeing nicknames become formal and these modern twists appear. Okay, finally, let's just touch on some unique or less common names from the list for those looking for something maybe a bit different.
Right. These might stand out a bit more today, offer maybe a greater sense of individuality.
We have Bertin, French, bright strength. That's a really nice combination.
It has a sophisticated feel, doesn't it? Blending intelligence or clarity with power, resilience.
Bertram, Germanic, great raven, combines brightness with the somewhat mysterious raven image.
Yeah, the raven has different meanings across cultures. Often intelligence, wisdom, sometimes even magic or prophecy.
Bridger, English, lives near a bridge. Straightforward location name, maybe less common as a first name now.
Clear, descriptive locational name. Might evoke that connection to a specific place.
Brock, English, badger. Nature name, familiar, but maybe not as widely used as some other animal names.
It has a slightly more rugged, earthy feel, perhaps. Appeals to those liking wildlife.
Bruno, Germanic. Brown, simple, classic, but maybe less trendy now than some other killer names.
Right. Not super rare, but maybe seen as more understated or traditional in some places today.
Puck, English. Male deer. Another animal name, strong, but maybe less conventional for a first name.
Evokes the wild, nature. Suggests agility, grace, perhaps.
And you've also got Burl, Bane, Burke, Bixby, Bonaventure, Boaziah, and Bowden mentioned again here, reinforcing they might be less common.
Yeah, these names, for various reasons, origin meaning sound, might just be less frequent in modern naming.
Good point, though, that what's unique is subjective, right? And changes over time and place.
Absolutely. What's uncommon in one area might be familiar elsewhere, and popularity trends are always shifting.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into the world of bee names. We've gone from ancient myths to modern inventions, explored jobs, landscapes, noble hopes, deep faith, and just how language itself evolves.
It really does show just how much history, culture, and meaning can be packed into what seems like a simple label. Each name has a story, connecting people not just to their own possible heritage, but to these bigger currents of human experience.
So as you think about these names, or really any name you come across, maybe think about the layers of meaning they hold.
Yeah.
Consider how a name, just a way to identify someone, can reflect values, heritage, hopes. It's so much more than just what you call someone. It's a potential link to the past, a subtle hint about the future. What kind of story might you want a name to tell?